Welcome to the Ambitious as Fuck podcast, where we have raw conversation about staying motivated and ambitious while facing real life challenges. Success doesn't just happen, you have to work hard, fall, and keep getting up regardless of the obstacles. If settling or giving up is not your style, stick around for this real ass conversation. My name is Priscilla, and I've always enjoyed helping and motivating others. While developing my own brand, I realized my passion for marketing and empowering others to keep pushing forward and manifesting their dreams. Thanks for tuning in. Okay. All right, everyone. Welcome back to Ambitious AF podcast. I have a guest by the name of Michael Rolon, and before I talk about how we met, please go ahead and introduce yourself, Rowland. Michael.
Yeah, you're quite all right. I, as a Michael who has been around multiple industries, going by my last name is, pretty common now. So I own two companies. I own a media company that focuses on storytelling-based content creation, and then I also have a coaching business where I focus on being an impact coach, helping people find impact in their lives to deliver to others.
Awesome. And recently, Michael actually just reached out to me and he told me about this new aspect of his business and journey in his life as an entrepreneur, which is really exciting because he has a lot of new stuff and he's helping a lot of people, which you guys know that that's like my whole purpose is to help people. And so Michael and I actually met through I want to say it was Sylvia. So Sylvia is my cousin who was helping me with social media in the beginning. Yeah. And you guys were probably like in a discussion group or something. I don't know how that worked.
We were in a group. It was a content creator group like 3 years ago or so, give or take. Yeah. Specifically focused on Instagram at the time.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was.
And then so ever since then, we just kind of stayed in touch. I never really spoke to anyone else. And I like from that group, but Michael and I stayed in touch, and Michael actually helped me a couple of times. Like one time we had a good conversation, and believe it or not, Michael, you are actually part of the reason why I started figuring out more of my marketing and like who I wanted to speak to.
Yeah, so I remember when we did that little workshop over the phone that one time. I remember that. That is so awesome.
Yeah, and I forgot to tell you actually. So that was really awesome because ever since then it's kind of when it really led me down to where I am now, because that whole who are you talking to thing is like super important when it comes to marketing. And that's, I think, one of the hardest things to figure out.
Yeah, and I think it's clarity, right? I'm a big fan of like clarity begets simplification begets success. But we're so afraid to like slow down because slowing down oftentimes means like failure. Like we see like, like the whole like idea in business, if you're not growing, you're dying. Well, sometimes we have to really focus on planting those seeds, and that harvest might come a little bit longer when we know what goes in that garden.
That is like so true.
When we're putting things that, because we might be growing things that it's not in season to grow, but we are so stubborn of like, no, this has got to be where we're going with this. And then we get shocked 3 months later when our harvest isn't bountiful because, we've got a whole bunch of weeds because they just weren't ready to grow because it wasn't the right time to grow them. And, we don't focus on that enough. So sometimes by slowing down, we're able to put the priorities and really figure out, all right, what is an alignment? And I'm a big fan of like alignment audits. I do them daily with myself. I do them weekly with my coaching clients. And it's the single best thing that I have given myself because it allows me to make sure that I can do all these amazing things, run two companies, create content, 20 hours a week, run my groups, have these amazing adventures, start new projects, but it's all in alignment because instead of doing, 12 different things, I'm doing one thing 12 different ways.
That's very interesting.
Because it's all one focus.
So I want to share this with our listeners and of course our watchers. You guys, again, this episode is on YouTube. They will not all be on YouTube, but this one will be. It's a lot of work to edit for video, and
it is.
Oh my God, I'm like with the baby and everything. I'm like, I'm gonna do what I can, but at least it will be on. You can hear it, but you can check this one out on YouTube. But so tell our listeners a little bit about how you, because first you were doing marketing and you were doing
Yeah.
copy, like kind of like walk us through that little process of like what you were doing and then how you ended up where you are now.
Yeah, so I think the overall kind of story goes a little bit past that, is like really my love for storytelling.
Hmm.
Um, and so I have a kind of a unique story. I have an incurable heart disease. I have battled with my health journey my entire life. Literally my story started the day I was born, and I was on the cover of the New York Times. I was on the cover of the Daily News. I was cover of like every major magazine outlet. Miracle Baby Born. I
Oh,
survived a 1 in a million chance of surviving the disease that I have, and so from that moment, like a story started. And then
wow.
growing up, I had, multiple heart surgeries at a young age, and really was surrounded by adults. And I remember when I was growing up, my grandfather just had this way of teaching me through stories. And because I was already around doctors and adults, I tended like to just understand a little bit more. I was reading and writing before I even went into kindergarten, just because I was able to comprehend on that adult level. And so I was able to see the parallel and the analogies that were in these stories. And so I just fell in love with the idea of storytelling. And my grandfather he was just one of those people that always had a story for something. And so as I got older, I started sharing my story, and I realized there's a tremendous amount of impact when we are owning our story. Like there's sometimes that we have things that happen to us in our lives that, are really easy to be the reason why we put up barriers or walls, or the trauma
Yeah.
becomes this burden that we just close down from. But there's a tremendous amount of power that comes from sharing your story, because what it allows you to do is it allows you to own that.
Yeah.
You like whatever trauma happened, whatever thing that happened against us, it really doesn't happen to us. It happens for us in the way that we are able to then share it, take ownership of it, and then it becomes ours. And so I started speaking at a young age, but I wasn't really, sure, we're talking about like in the 90s, like late 90s, and I didn't know like what that roadmap looked like.
Yeah.
Um, and so I started I was in the restaurant industry for a number of years, kind of like your typical revolver restaurant guy. I do a management job, a bartender job. I went and worked in sales for an insurance company.
Hmm.
And when I started doing that, I started doing a lot of networking. And I've always been somebody, again, who recognizes the story in others. And so I always listen very well. I'm a talker by all
I know we
means,
both are.
but I have honed my skills of listening, because one of my passions really is to tell other people's stories. Or like if I hear your story, I'm like, why do you say it like this? Like, so that was naturally my lead into marketing. But I started networking a ton,
Mhm.
and I just heard this same complaint from small business owners is, I can't get in front of these people because, I have the big box stores, or my competition is taking over the domain, and you can't get anything on social media because they cost too much to do this and do that. And so I saw this need. And so at that time, I started doing my own networking events and really getting into what we would consider like hyper local marketing, and really
Like
focusing
network
on,
marketing, right?
right, exactly, like creating that networking.
Hmm.
And so that's where it started. And then
Okay.
people started really enjoying them. And the question kept, well, how can we pay you? How can you make money off this? And I was like, and here I was like, this like, 30-year-old green behind the ears. Like I know restaurant management. I don't know how to monetize, an idea. I just know how to, create ideas. I've always been the vision.
Uh-huh.
And so I said, you know what? I met this person at a networking event that knows how to take awesome pictures. I know this person how to design a website, and this person does social media. And so I kind of created a little collective,
Hmm.
and that was my first business in the marketing world. Was I brought together all these subcontractors that could provide a holistic marketing company. And I went out there and I started going to meetings and started talking it up like I was the next Mark Zuckerberg. I was like, I know all of this about marketing, of course, because I was reading and learning along the way.
Right.
And so even though I had somebody that did video, I was learning how to do a little bit of video. Even though I had somebody that knew SEO, I was learning, because I wanted to at least make sure that I understood how to communicate it. And then
Right.
at the end of the day, if somebody calls in sick or somebody's not reachable, I can at least do the, like, at the very least, the bare minimum, or find a way to get the solution. And so that
Yeah.
was it. That was, I started there. Um, and then, I started sold, had a couple of like failed companies. And then I started my media company, and I started the media company. And 2 months later, I started the media company. Then I had to have surgery. Then I started recovering surgery. And 2 months later, my daughter came to live with me full time.
Oh, wow.
And so it was like boom, 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 all these things. And so I was like, all right, I started the juggling act again. I was like, this is not what I wanted to do. So I spent a lot of the time and focus, and then 2020 hit and the pandemic hit. And I realized, all right, I can't do 7 things anymore. That's not true to who I am. That's not where I am, because I was already on this other spiritual quest to really being whole with myself and really living into my pursuit. And so I turned to my team and I said, look, we have these skills. Let's use our skills while everyone's closing down to say, hey, we've got you. And so that's when we launched our Vantage Point Media show on YouTube, where we told any business that wanted to talk to us, we will provide you free marketing.
Oh,
we
wow.
will put your name out there, and we focus mostly local, but we got to work with local businesses to drop off food at hospitals.
Speaking of which, sorry to interrupt you. Local, where are you located?
Oh, I'm like right outside of Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay, there you go. Just giving that
on the East Coast there. So so we got to really build out some relationships with people who were really struggling. Being in the restaurant industry for so long, we were doing a lot of promotion and marketing for restaurants, bars that were completely closed at the time. But we were out there promoting like their GoFundMe's and ways that you can support these people. And so that was something that spoke to me. And so we did that for a while, and then never asked for the business from the people. We just wanted to do what we could do using our skill set. Okay. And then as soon as, things started coming back 3 months later, my phone just kept ringing, and people were like, well, we want to work with you now. Like, how can we work with you? And so this was like the 3rd or 4th time in 5 years that people were asking me how they can pay me. And I'm like, wow. All right, well, that's like best case scenario as a business owner, right?
Yes.
But it made me realize that I probably wasn't in as much alignment as I thought.
Right.
If people are asking me how they can pay me, that means I'm probably not really in alignment with the services that, are right, because then I'm just selling. Right. And, I've never started a business to just be a salesperson. Right. Like I'm somebody that wants to be in a relationship. So I started working with a coach about a year ago, really to try to fine tune what my next pursuit was and where I was really going. And that's where I found really where I should be. And that's in this coaching world of being able to help other people identify their purpose, and really from a place of action. Because I'm an action person. Like I'm a very much a vision person. I can create crazy wild visions with just about anybody. But one of the skills that I've developed is being able to take wild visions into bold, realistic action. And I say realistic because I think that that's where we burn out, right? When we create these great goals that are amazing, ambitious goals, but then we try to put action up against it. It's like, I need 3 years to hit the goal that I'm trying to hit in 30 days. And it's not sustainable. So being able to take that and bring it down to like a realistic perspective, and that's what I've done over the last year, and was able to launch my coaching business back in February, and just see time and time again how that is the right place for where I'm supposed to be.
That is really cool. And I love that, because here's the thing. And like, it happened for me too, where I didn't know what I wanted to do at first. I went off and started my own company, but in the end, that's not what I'm doing now, and it took a few tries to get it right. And so the thing is that, like, and I've had this discussion, and you'll have it soon with your daughter, because my daughter's 20, or she's gonna be 21, and she doesn't know what she wants to do. And I'm like, you know what? You don't have to know right now. I didn't know, and so like hearing you share the same thing, that you kind of went through a few different things before you figured it out, that's encouraging, because nobody knows what the hell they want to do right away. And there's very few people that do, very few.
And I think that the key to that is there's two aspects of this. Mm-hmm. Your why. Once you establish your why it's never going to change. Once you find your why.
True.
What changes is the application of the why.
Yes.
And I think that we get so caught up. And let me tell you, the thing, like, people stick around in jobs longer than they should, relationships longer than they should, mindsets longer than they should, because they get so comfortable, and it's not even the comfort, it's this like pride, right? Like we have this sense of pride that we just don't want to like bow our heads and say, here's another failure, here's another thing, you know, like, because it would be easy for me to be like, oh, this is my 12th new career, this is my 13th business that I own, this is
Oh
my
shit.
13th business that I've started, lucky number 13, right? But for me, like I wear that with a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Because that means that I learned 12 other ways that wasn't right for me.
Yeah.
In 6 months, you know, I have found that this is, you know, just based off of the last 6 months, this is the most right. And it's not comfortable, but it's like the shoe that fits.
That's true. That's very true. And sometimes too, it's like not even like leaving, like you said, not being able to leave the comfort zone, but then not knowing, well, what do you do next?
Right.
You know, because then you're stuck all alone, like trying to figure that shit out.
Yeah. And so that's I feel like the other thing is like we try to go it alone, right? Like I think
We do.
that
As
success,
entrepreneurs, we do a lot of stuff
right,
alone.
and success is a very interpersonal, because like success is personal because we define it personally, right? Like when we are saying what success means, everyone's got a different answer, so it makes sense for us to chase that on our own.
Right.
But when we step back and say, I'm not chasing success anymore, I'm creating it. And when we can create with a team. You know, like chasing, and you know, chasing is hard to do with multiple people. But when we create something from a vision, that we can do with the team, because then we have accountability, then we have support, then we have the ability to grow. So no matter what we do, we can get there. And the books that I've read, the people that I listen to, there's nobody out there that says, you know what, shut the rest of the world off and go out and build this your own, go build the tower to heaven on your own, and then get there. And you're not going to get there. You have to do that. And I think that it's given me a lot of grace. And one of those hard things, like asking for help, is like that burdensome shame that we have to get through, right? Asking for help is like the best gift that you can give yourself. Because when you can ask for help, it cuts so much out. And because it's you know, you don't have to do it alone, and you never had to. But it's like that self-inflicted, like, you know, pain that we tend to give ourselves of, oh, I've got to do this all by myself. It's all me. It's all, you know, and it's like, all right, pump the brakes on the ego. It's like, you are not that important that you have to put all this effort and pressure on yourself. And that's a hard pill to swallow, but it's the truth. And when we can recognize that, like asking for help is part of human nature. Like, because we don't find success. Success is not me making a lot of money. Success is not, you know, me accomplishing a lot of goals. Success is, how did I help somebody else become a better person? The only way that works is if somebody says, hey, can you help me, or accepting my help. So by, you know, rationale there, we have to be able to ask for help, because we're fulfilling somebody else's ability to fulfill their purpose.
One of the things when it comes to asking for help, Michael, for me, for some reason, for the most part, I actually do ask for help, because even when I reached out to you and like help me with making some content or whatever, I understood the value of sometimes you have to pay to invest in yourself and invest in your growth, which kind of correlates with you going out and getting coaching to invest in yourself, and the outcome is really good.
And I think it's important that we recognize, like, investing in ourselves, like, doesn't always mean cost.
True.
Right, like,
true.
I hired a coach. I've certainly bought the books. I've done the courses before. I've done those things, but I want to share really the caveat for me, like the thing that brought it all together was this last summer, was the trip that I kind of talked to you about when we had spoken, caught up. So I've always been a hiker, always loved the outdoors. And I recognized in all these things that I was trying to do, I was still ignoring myself, my needs, my ability to do something for me. And so my daughter goes to her mom for the summer, and I had this bold, crazy vision that I came up with a week before she went to go to her mom's. And I said, you know what? She's gone for 7 weeks. I'm going to go away for 7 weeks. And so I dropped her off to her mom at our meeting place, and I went on a 40-day road trip across the country.
Wow.
And I
Oh, you
hiked.
drove through this whole
Yeah,
trip.
yeah. I
Okay.
drove, leaving in North Carolina, made it as far west as Nevada, Utah, Nevada area, as far
Okay.
north as South Dakota, went down. We're talking about like I hiked in the Badlands. I met the
Wow.
Lakota Indians in South Dakota. I went through Yellowstone. I hiked in the desert in Crater of the Moon. I took a horseback ride down the Rio Grande. I mean, this was like the adventure of a lifetime.
Wow.
But all the while, what I did was I released all the control that I felt like I had to have in my life. And I just let the universe kind of say, okay, this is where you're going. And so oftentimes I would just drive knowing I wanted to go in this direction. And I would get to a stop sign. And if I felt like I was supposed to go left, I'd go left. If I felt like I was supposed to go right, I'd go right. And there was a tremendous amount of anxiety that came along with that. But the experience helped me tap into a level of like personal understanding.
Uh-huh.
And that is something that I've now taken with me. It's created, like maybe I already had it, maybe I did, but it's created this level of discernment for me to always be able to understand that, hey, there's a sign that you're on the right path now.
Yeah.
And I think that we can all find those ways, but I think that finding a way like that to interpersonally invest in yourself, because
Mm-hmm.
like we ask for, like, even when we get to a place of asking for help, we're still, we push down our needs.
Yeah.
And when we can ask ourselves and listen to ourselves, like, what are we really asking for help for? Right? Like, are we asking for help because we want to make more money? So we want, to get our business right? Are we asking for help because we want less stress? We want more time. We need more time with our kids. Like, what is the reason? What's the core? And for me, it was just, I needed a breather. Like, I was like, I'm doing all these amazing things, but like, I need to step back for a minute and realize that, like, why you're doing this. You're doing amazing things, but you're wearing yourself out because you're so like, I'm very ADD. So I'm very like, go, go, go.
Yeah.
And so by doing that and slowing down to a cadence that allowed me to just get out on a trail and feel nature and be around wildlife and experience the amazing things that I was able to experience, um,
Mhm.
it calmed my soul. That's the best way I can put it. Like, it
Wow.
calmed my soul in a way that allowed me to fall in love with myself on an eternal level,
Wow.
which is it's a different feeling, because then it's you're understanding that whatever I do is going to be in alignment, because now I have these skill set to be like, well, does this feel right? Am
Mm-hmm.
I checking off this list of, this is right, this is right? And it's very simple. And so when I work with people on a one-on-one basis, and my approach is very simple, and a lot of times I kind of joke about, like, Mr. Miyagiing them, because I focus on a lot of soft skills that we can adapt that eventually become, these hard skills. Like,
Uh-huh.
it's people want to have a nice home, but if you don't know how to take care of your house, you're not going to be happy when you get that house.
Yes.
So rather than focusing on what it takes to get the big house, let's learn how to, like, wash the dishes and put them away, and fold the laundry, put them. And I know that we laugh because those are the things that we don't want to do, right? Like,
Right.
but like, I oftentimes laugh about the fact that I'm 38 years old and I find pride in the fact that I started making my bed every single day a year ago. Like
Yeah.
that, but it's one of those things that I know it's done. And
Yeah.
I'm so, and you can find pride of that, because we can celebrate things as cheesy as that, because
Yeah.
then when it comes time to celebrate, landing that huge big ticket sale, it's all part of one process, right? And
Yeah.
so making sure that we understand that, I think, is it's a great way to look inward to work outward.
Well, that's, there's you've definitely unpacked a whole lot right there, which is good because, sometimes we just have to slow down and look at ourselves, like you said, and like, what do I need? And I don't, we are so caught up in the day to day and the family and trying to create, or trying to get a raise or whatever it is that we're doing, that we really don't like look inside. We forget. And
Right.
so, yeah, that's a good point. And so with what you're doing now, Michael, I mean, obviously, you were inspired from everything that you've been through and everything you just described. When you decided that all right, I'm going to get a coach. Like, how did you figure out that that was what you should do? And how did you find the right coach? Because that's hard.
Yeah. So I guess I realized over the years that the cycle kept repeating, right? I
Okay.
recognized the patterns, and it was halfway through 2020, and I was like, I am way too like this is how my thought process was. I'm way too successful halfway through this year for the environment of this year. Right? Like we're in the pandemic and I'm like growing success. Like
Uh-huh.
it scared me. It legitimately scared me because I was
Okay.
like, I'm gonna screw this up. Like because like I look at the patterns of, okay, I can get this
Okay.
far, I can get this far, and it's like, it's win, 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 win. It's like jab, 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 hook. Next thing you know, I'm like not answering that 10 count and getting back up.
Okay.
Um, and so I realized that I got as far as I could on my own. Humbling experience to be like,
Yes, it
yeah,
is.
I know that I've like, and 2020 was a really good year for me.
Yeah.
And I was able to say, like, all right, well, I want 2021 to be better. Like, and I want to get back to like my growth strategies.
Mhm.
But I knew that if I just went about it my way, because part of it was circumstantial, part of it was, sheer luck, and part of it was like, no, you're falling into the right place, and you're growing, but there's like this how fast you want to grow. And I was like, no, I'm my energy output wasn't matching the growth that I was, working
Experiencing.
towards, exactly. So it's like I'm out here working 60 hours a week, and I'm seeing the significant change of like a 5-hour difference of work week. So I was like, I've got to compact that. And
Right.
so not like recognizing not knowing what I don't know was like probably my biggest burden. So I was like, no, I don't know all these things. I don't
Yeah.
know how to, take and scale from this to this because I've never gotten past that point. I don't know how to launch and like, because at this point I was like, no, I want to do something in the coaching world. I know that this is like, where I'm feeling like I'm
Hmm.
being, called. So I really focused on a coach specifically that is somebody who has grown with other coaches too, like
Okay.
who like is going to be there and be able to facilitate that um, in a more one-on-one personal environment. And so started working with her back in about October of 2020, and
So
we
it's
met
almost about a year
because
ago.
yeah, and we met because we actually did a mini documentary. She's a podcast host, and we went and did a little cover story about what they were doing and how they were getting by through the pandemic and things like that as business
Got it.
owners and podcast hosts and things like that. So
Let me stop right there because one thing I want to, I kind of want to emphasize the fact that like the people that you meet, there could be some type of opportunity and you never really know what it is. And I'm not saying like be this like person who like tries to see an opportunity in every single person they meet. I don't mean it like that. But like look at by chance how you did this with her and then she happened to be someone who helped you in your life, change things
oh yeah,
around. But you
and
were open. You were open to
absolutely,
receiving that, and that's the thing. Like we get stuck in our ways and we get stuck in our patterns, so it's really hard unless you stop and say, something's not working or something's not right or whatever it is. But looking around us and who are we surrounded with, who are we surrounded by, what kind of company do we keep, who do we talk to, like all of those things actually really affect us. So I'm glad that you said that you met her by chance, doing something else.
absolutely. And I think it goes back to what I was saying about earlier with planting those seeds, right? Like
Hmm.
just because that wasn't the right season to harvest that seed doesn't mean that it's never going to be, right? Like
Exactly.
you and I have had these like really like serendipitous interactions, and it usually comes from like one of us posting something on
Yeah.
Instagram, and like I am like the worst at like consistency on Instagram. Like I will like be like, no, I'm going hard, I'm just gonna and then I'll just like disappear for a while, like I'll grow, and but that's how it happens, right? Like we
Yeah.
see something that like relates to us, which is what we should be doing on social media anyway.
Yeah.
And then it starts by that, and then it's a DM where like we have, each other's numbers.
Mhm.
It's a text, and hey,
Yeah.
let's catch up sometime.
Well,
And
let me tell you something. Okay, so all right, so I write, for businesses, for the most part for businesses, but it's telling a story. Like you said, you take something, some information, and you create a story that's engaging, that people actually care about or can connect with. That's what I help people do for their businesses. The issue I'm having is doing it for me. And as I'm talking to you, I'm like, holy shit, Roland. I keep calling you Roland, Michael, because I don't know why I keep calling you Roland. It's because it's your last name. But I was like, Michael can help me with this. Oh my God. Because I keep saying, I think I need someone to do it for me. I can't do it for myself. I could do it for
yeah,
everyone else. But because I'm in my head so deep, I cannot freaking. Do you know how long I've been waiting on writing my own biography? And that's my specialty.
yeah,
It's been, oh my God, years, because I
yeah,
keep half assing it. So now I'm like, okay, I'm going to have Michael do it for me. So we'll talk after this.
yeah. Well, and I think that's right. Like we put blinders on, right? Like
Yeah.
we get so focused because here's the thing. I started to how I got my coaching business off the ground is hilarious in a
Okay.
way. So I had this vision years ago that I thought, from a social media perspective, wouldn't it be awesome if there was a social media account on any platform that was just like the vulnerable CEO, right? Like I intended to make 10 cold calls today, but instead my first call hung up on me, called me some bad names. So I sat down, made some Hot Pockets and binge watched Netflix and posted that, right? Because that's
Okay.
relatable. That's real.
Very, yes.
So I did that. Last November, I started on TikTok,
Oh, did you?
and I
Okay.
started just like, let me see how this thing, like, let me do, because my daughter's like, Dad, you got to do this TikTok thing. And I'm like, it's all kids dancing and
Yeah.
whatever, so I made a couple of like, things, whatever. And then I was like, no, there's something here. There's something here. And so I posted this blog and I did this YouTube video on why it was the time to strike. And and my team was like, put your money where your mouth is. I'm like, all right. So I started this, this YouTube, started my TikTok
TikTok.
journey. And within 30 days, grew by 12,000 followers, got monetized. I've now
Are
got
you
six.
serious?
Yeah, I
Oh
actually
shit.
have, I've got 6 different corporate sponsors that I've
What's your
gotten.
TikTok? Because I'm gonna have to follow you.
Warrior of Impact.
Okay,
So
and that's the name
everywhere
of
on social
your
media is just
coaching
Warrior of
business as
Impact.
well, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And it's all motivational videos. It's what it's like to be a single parent, some
Okay.
ADD stuff, some funny stuff. I just did a huge 9/11 memorial campaign that we did,
Oh,
a minute of silence.
okay.
Like my whole goal was, let's take over an app, 1 minute of silence. Promoted it, and 1.1 million
Wow.
like views, that like on the hashtag of like people that took part of this challenge.
Uh-huh.
There's a ton of momentum on there, right? And then I just started doing, I got an email because like Instagram's not going to let anybody like take from them, so they I got a message from Reels like, hey, come be a Reels creator. So I started doing Reels not too long ago, and
Oh.
I've done some Snapchat Spotlight
So
as a
how did that
creator.
lead into the way, because you said it was funny the way you started your
So
business.
yeah, so I beta tested all my messaging. I was like, I'm just gonna be real. This is what I believe. So everything come back to me. When I was 7 years old, I had a like a life altering experience. I had a near death experience when I was 7.
Wow.
On the operating table, I died for 5 minutes,
Oh
and while I
shit.
died, I saw my grandfather and what I know to be God.
Oh wow.
And in that moment, I felt this like light in me,
Wow.
and it's what I call my warrior spirit. And it's what I've always recognized as my ability to be the kid that was 1 in a million surviving the birth, to
Mm-hmm.
be the guy that has survived 7 heart surgeries, the guy that
Wow.
has survived 9 heart attacks, 7 strokes. Like I was fully paralyzed at 19. And
Wow.
it's
I
that
didn't know
it's
that. I know you suffered with health
yeah.
stuff, but I didn't know
And
all
so
this.
that light inside of me, I've recognized through the years of listening to people's stories, is in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I say I'm a warrior of impact, that is what my light shines out to the world. It's impacting other people. My goal, my pursuit, my mission in life is to create, other warriors, help other people tap into that life, find it themselves, find their purpose and live into it. And so I started just sharing from a very personal perspective. This is my goal. This is my mission. This is my belief. This is what I've done over the last 37 years at that time to get me to this place. And the responses have been unreal.
That's
Like
awesome.
I have literally been on the phone with complete strangers because I want to find a way to help.
Right.
And then the question happened: how do we pay you? and I was like, all right. Like, and I was like, this is the just the position now. I'm like, all right.
Wow.
So I launched a free coaching group back in the beginning of 2020 on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like I wanted to like serve. And then when I came back from my walkabout, as I call it, I launched my first paid coaching group that is, goes on. I started working with people one-on-one.
Nice.
And now this is like the only thing I ever want to do. Like
That's
I still
so
have my media stuff as like, because I still love working with business owners. And now it's kind of become more like business coaching with the ability to kind of like the do it for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I've cut out the marketing side. Like now it's just creating the content rather
That's
than
awesome.
trying to worry about the marketing, that kind of stuff. It's like, I know what I'm good at, know what I love, rather than having to build a team around the things that, don't work. And I do have a team, I still have my entire team that work with. Now they're with like my coaching business and the media company, and it all kind of, so we get to serve on a much bigger scale now, because we get to work with the single parents. We get to work with the military veterans that, might not have been the people we would have thought to work with because they weren't a business owner. And that's where my heart really is too, is to be able to, serve whoever is really there to be led in that sense.
Well, Michael, you usually I have to ask and try to draw all this stuff out of people, but you gave me like pretty much everything that I usually ask, and I love it because it just flowed so easily. And I knew it would with you, honestly, because like you said, like I don't know, there's some type of connection, and sometimes you don't like, I don't know why, but I think perhaps, we're kind of on a similar mission. I love helping people.
Absolutely.
And it's like, I happen to do it for businesses, but anytime I've met someone over the years, and this is how this all started for me with the podcast, was I always like, if people would be like, oh, I hate my job. I'm like, well, then why are you there? Let's figure something out. What's the plan? What do you like doing? Whatever, stuff like that. I just want people to be in their happy place. And sadly, the kids come to me because I have the 20-year-old and the 17-year-old, and my 20-year-old is my daughter, and she's always coming to me with something that seems so easy to fix, right? And so I'm constantly like trying to fix stuff and tell her like this, and this is what you should do. She's like, Mom, can't you ever just listen? I just want to talk to you and vent. And it's so hard. I told her, I said, I'm so sorry. I just always want to help fix it. That's what I do. But I think maybe that has something to do with why we have this connection or something. But definitely, I'm so glad you're on the show. I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing, and I'm glad you reached out to me to do this with me. And I want people to be able to find you. So can you please list out the best places to find you?
Yeah. So easiest, michaelrolon.com. And I'll send you that link for however. And then pretty much everywhere on social media, Warrior of Impact. So it's pretty much just like how it's spelled out. Yeah.
Where are you most active?
So I would say TikTok and Instagram.
Okay.
That seems to be where I'm at. And then I have my group on Facebook, which is a free group. I believe if you look it up or look up, my name on, I have a Facebook page that'll link to the group.
Okay.
And it's a great community of people that just have support for one another, and we have a lot of fun in there.
Cool. Well, I look forward to having you back sometime soon, and just hearing what's new, what's changed.
Sure, we've got plenty to talk about still. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's so much to talk about. But all right, everyone, check out Michael Rolon, or Rowland for short. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, just reach out to him or join that free Facebook group if you want some support or whatever. Hey, take advantage of all the resources out there. And of course,
Absolutely.
if it's not Michael, then look for whoever is the best fit for you that can help you get to where you want to be. And that's like
Absolutely.
my biggest thing is like whatever mentor helps you. It doesn't have to be one, it could be many.
That's absolutely right.
You could
Yeah.
read books from various authors and pick and choose what works for you, because not everything's going to work, but
Right. And not everyone's a good fit for each other, you
exactly,
know? Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
All right, Michael, well, thank you so much, and we'll see you again next time.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
Bye.
All right, that was great.
For daily tips and motivation, follow me on Instagram at AmbitiousAF Copywriting.